Astrology is a spiritual way of knowing and can be approached as a spiritual practice. The archetypal dynamics of astrology indicate that we live in a radically participatory, co-creative universe that is saturated with divine intelligence and care. This branch of astrology recognizes that the correlations observed between human affairs and planetary dynamics is of an archetypal character. The planetary bodies in our solar system each correlate with a different archetype, a character with a spectrum of interrelated qualities that can be observed through their multivalent manifestations in human experience. Planetary archetypes are functionally similar to the archetypes as understood by the depth psychology tradition, yet they are also comparable to the pantheon of gods and goddesses central to many ancient cultures. From the archetypal astrological perspective, the cosmos is structured and ordered according to these primordial principles, which permeate every level of being, from the depths of the psychic interior to the interrelational dynamics of worldly and cosmic events. This astrology is a continuously ongoing, universally visible form of synchronicity, what Jung describes as a meaningful coincidence between an inner event and an outer event. Archetypal astrology can be understood as a way of spiritual knowing. There are many ways of knowing beyond the intellectual knowledge of the mind. The body has its own somatic and sensual ways of knowing. The heart has emotional, relational, and empathic ways of knowing. And the soul has imaginal, intuitive, and visionary ways of knowing. Astrology, too, can be recognized as a form of participatory knowing. The techniques of astrology are first grounded in an understanding of astronomy and math, which is then blended with the archetypal eye, the capacity to read symbolically, to perceive qualities as they manifest in actions, events, conversations, in art, politics, dreams, visionary, mystical experiences, and so forth. In the practice of astrology, human participation in this realm occurs not only in the manifestations in our daily lives, but also in our cognition and interpretation of astrological correlations. Using astrological practice, we can observe archetypal manifestations occurring in individual human beings and in world events, irrespective of whether individuals are aware of these archetypes participating in their lives. From this perspective, one could say that every moment is a participatory event, co-created with the planets and the symbolism. If astrology is approached as a co-creative practice, or even as a spiritual discipline, one's engagement with these archetypes can shape to a certain extent the manifestations in one's life, or even the expressions of the archetypes themselves. With greater awareness of the planetary movements, we can co-create a more emancipated reality through our own conscious participation. I emphasize that such participation is a co-creation and is neither exclusively subject to our independent free will, nor is it solely due to the planet, but rather is a constantly shifting relationship between these agents. It implies both a level of responsibility on the part of the human being and a trust in the ultimate dynamic creativity of the archetypes. This ongoing participation with archetypal reality can be approached as a spiritual practice, a daily engagement with the sacred forces at play within our lives and in our cosmos. The primary aim of most contemplative spiritual traditions is not actually to have mystical experiences of the divine, but rather to be liberated by greater spiritual knowledge and to overcome self-centeredness. When we see the manifestations of the planets in realms beyond the individual, we can recognize that spiritual meaning pervades the cosmos, and it is not exclusive to the connection between humanity and the divine alone. Rather, the cosmos itself seems to be alive and aware, participating with the human and the divine mystery. The aim of astrology, as with other spiritual traditions, may not be to only have a mystical experience of the divine, but such experiences can provide a deeper and more profound understanding. The apt naming of the planets and the luminaries, from the Sun and Moon to Mercury out through Saturn, this naming by the people of numerous ancient cultures indicates that they perceived a clear connection between the archetypes as planet and the archetypes as god or goddess, although their names varied from culture to culture. Archetypal astrology can be seen as a spiritual path, discipline, or a tradition, one of many religions participating in the great mystery of divinity. The practice of astrology calls on each of us to participate more fully in the spiritual unfolding of our own lives, as we learn to become ever more conscientious and co-creative partners in the great dance.